My friend Bella Avageria, who some of you guys may know from streaming Skylanders and what have you, she used to have this framed picture up in her house of this quote by Abraham Lincoln that says, "All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." And this one time, my sweet mate, you know him as Rebel Monster 23, and Bella Avageria, we were at her house, and we saw it, and we read it out loud, and we started laughing, thinking about my mom. And I was like, you know, guys, that quote is right. My mom is an angel. She's the harbinger of melancholy.
When someone meets my family, they inevitably ask, "How are you, you?" Why is that, you ask? Have I got a story for you?
Well, it's not just like trust that's not there. There's also weird things. Like, we have a running joke, like everybody that I play Smite with, especially, because when we play Smite and there's like a whole room of us, as you've seen in other videos, we're pretty much idiots, and we have a lot of fun when we play Smite. And my mom has this thing where I'm not really allowed to be happy at night because, like, I can't really turn it, but there we go. I definitely tightened it too much. But like that wall right there, on the other side of that wall is where my mom sleeps, because she wanted us to be real close to each other for some stupid reason. Also, she was like, "You can have this room because there's so many windows and it's so great. And it's hot as balls in here." This is the worst room in the house because this house is improperly insulated. All the windows are all messed up, but we can't fix them because that costs money, even though it'll save us money in the long run. But whatever, those are all stories for another day. But back to what I was saying, my mom sleeps in that room right there. So generally speaking, you can hear what I'm doing in this room when she's in that room. The walls aren't paper thin, but if there's loud noises, you can hear them. Like for example, the first time Liz was over here, we were in my room watching a movie, and over the movie, you could hear through the wall. And it wasn't like we were watching a horror movie. So she was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "That's my mom snoring." And she stops what she's doing, and Liz looks up at me, and she's like, "How do you sleep?" And I was like, "I don't know, get used to it." But anyway, back to the Smite, and when I have you talking, Mom don't like hearing noises. But it's weird because like I could be really angry at something, and I'll be like screaming and cursing and mad, and like 2 hours after I've started that, Mom will wake up and start screaming. But which makes sense. I should be quiet. It's late at night. It makes sense. I understand her rage at this. But if I laugh loudly once, she wakes up with a start and she's like, "Shut up!" And so we have this running joke that I can't be happy when we play anything at night because Mom gonna get pissed off. Like she has a sensor for happy or something, and it's like she just hears you laughing like ha 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 in the background. She's like, "Rah!" Wakes up with a start. Happiness, I hate it. And so that's our running joke that I can't really do that. I don't know if any of you have ever been in a situation where you've had to, you know, hold a friend back from punching your parents in the face because they're huge bitches, but I have. And like I said at the end of the last episode, when I was like, you know, she has been referred to as a wretched person. You see, Rob Monster 23 came to visit, and this one time he was in the neighborhood. There was like a beer festival up here somewhere that he came with his friends, and like we wanted to hang out because I'm also friends with his friends. Because you know we lived together for 3 years, so I got to meet his friends and what have you. And so he was gonna come hang out, and they were all gonna come hang out. And then he was like, "Oh, your mom's gonna be home, huh? I don't know if we want to come visit." And I was like, "Oh." And his friends on the phone like, I don't. Like I can hear him in the background. He's like, "I don't get it. Why wouldn't we go visit her? Why wouldn't we go visit him if Mom's there? We don't have to talk to her." And Rebel Monster's like, she's just a wretched person. Like, oh, you don't want to spend time with her. That's why I'm trying to figure out when my mom is leaving so I can plan my birthday party. And you guys, I mean, you guys and gals out there, or if you're far away and what have you, and you're watching, sorry I can't invite you all, but I mean, you're gonna get to see part of it because there's gonna be a I decided last year when we started the Skylanders tournament that every year my birthday party is going to be a televised tournament, and this year's tournament is Power Stone. So if you like Power Stone and you like us as a group, a lot of Content Creative people are going to be there. And you want to watch people beat the hell out of each other for some stones, then tune on in. I don't actually know when my birthday party is because I'm trying to figure out when my mom's going to be away visiting the favorite child in Arizona because, oh my god, the birthday parties are so much better when my mom's not here being a huge bitch. Our first, like, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, one of my friends rides a motorcycle. He's a mechanic and he rides a motorcycle, and it was like 1 in the afternoon and he'd had 3 beers. He'd been here since like, I'm gonna say 11, and at that birthday party, I think it was the last birthday party my mom was at, and at that birthday party we had a cooler with like non-alcoholic drinks and alcoholic drinks, and the coolers were big. They were like the big wheeled ones, but the one that was alcoholic, we had multiple coolers for non-alcoholic drinks because I don't really drink. Some of my friends drink a lot, but I don't really drink, so we don't have like a lot of alcohol in the house. It doesn't matter. We had a really big one. It didn't have wheels. My friend that rides a motorcycle, my mother insists that everyone who rides a motorcycle is going to die a horrible death. I mean, statistics are probably higher that you'll die when you're riding a motorcycle, but not everybody who rides a motorcycle dies. It's not all inclusive. It was like 1 in the afternoon. He was on like his 3rd beer or something, and my mom comes over. She's like, "You tell him to stop. Tell him he can't have any more." And I'm like, he's not leaving for like 8 more hours. He'll be fine. He can sleep over here if he needs. My mom's like, "You gotta tell him to stop." And I'm like, "Yo, Mom wants you to stop drinking." So naturally my friend's like, no. So he has another beer. And this infuriates my mom. So she walks down into the kitchen. Right? She physically picks up the cooler. And you know how, like, when you're really angry, you have super strength? So my mom apparently was very angry at that point, so she developed super strength. She slams the cooler down. She grabs it. She's like, she picks it up. And she fucking carries it up the stairs into her bedroom. Now, it was a big cooler, and it was full of mostly ice and a couple drinks in it. But she dragged it up the stairs, like, and just stared angrily at anyone who watched her. She's like, "This is mine now. You can't have any." And so we try to make sure that all my birthday parties are when my mom's not here because she's a party pooper. My sweetheart was gonna come over, and he was with his friend, and he turned to his friend and he's like, "No, you don't understand. She's just a wretched person. You don't want to hang out with her. Not all the time." So you remember how, like, way at the beginning on, like, episodes, like 1 through 5, I kept saying, "That'll be a story for later. That'll be a story for later." Well, we're getting to those stories for later. Now, we're going full circle. That went, well, I mean, it could be a circle all around me, but I here from the beginning, and now we're drawing to a close on what I'm dubbing first season of Unfairy Tales. So we're going to get to all those stories. I told you that would be on later, because later is now. Now, the other quintessential story you're going to need to know about my family is this one time I had Valley Vajiri over, and we had another friend over, and I know I've told you guys before that my family doesn't really order out or do takeout, so it took us a while, but my mom was like, "Why don't we order food out so I don't have to cook?" Because as you guys know, my mom has to make food. I also found out somewhat recently that my family thinks I'm the Dragon Warrior, and that I don't eat unless they explicitly intervene. But newsflash! I'd be dead if that were the case. Unless I was the Dragon Warrior and I could survive off a single drop of dew. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case. I don't really want to try that either. Just eating dew in the morning. No, it didn't sound very good. So anyway, my mom suggested that one time that we should eat out, and because of this one situation, if my family's like, "Hey, we should call and get takeout," at any point, and they tell me to call, I'm like, no. It's kind of like driving. When my family's like, "You want to drive?" and we're about to get in the car, I'm like, no. tried to kill me last time. No! They didn't try to kill me while we were ordering food, but let me tell you a story. Story of, you know, how my mother will fight for the check by drawing blood with the pens. Just put that shit over. Stab, actually, it was at the top. Stab your hand into the table and, ah, you, the check is mine! So, this is, I guess, kind of like this, but not as bad. So we order up, and at the time, I was still like actively studying Chinese. So I was pretty confident in my abilities, and we had our other friend besides Valley of Algeria that was there was Chinese, and I was like, oh, if I need help, I could ask her to back me up, and we'd be fine. So we ordered Chinese food, and I start ordering in Chinese. I'm having like the basic conversation with the lady, trying to make her my friend and what have you, because I'm having fun and it's cool to learn other languages and whatever you. I like languages, I like talking to people. And so I start ordering in Chinese, and then I can't remember the words, so I go into English. And then my mom starts yelling because I don't know how to order food right. And we're trying to figure out, we didn't have it written down. We had some things written down, but people were still adding things. My cousin was still living at my house, and they were adding things to the menu, so I'm trying to add things. I don't know all the words, so I switched to English when necessary. And then my mom starts yelling at me because I'm not getting the price with each item. And I'm like, why would I get the price with each item? It doesn't make sense, because everyone knows I can't do math to save my life. I'm not going to write down the price of every single item as I ask them for it and then add them up at the end. That's fucking stupid. And so my mom starts yelling at me. And at this point, because my mom is yelling at me, I can't hear the lady on the phone anymore. I can't make out what she's saying. She had a really thick accent. Not in Chinese, obviously, because she was actually Chinese on the phone. But I mean, she had a really thick accent, and I was having trouble understanding her, and I can't hear her because my mom was like, blah, 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 blah. And so like I try to walk away from my mom, and I start apologizing profusely to this lady in Chinese. I'm like, 对不起啊，对不起啊，and I'm apologizing in Chinese. I'm trying to walk away from my mom, and my mom keeps getting closer. So at one point, she's like 1 inch away from my face, and she's screaming at me, and I'm like, 对不起啊。I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. In my face. And so Valley of Algeria steps between the two of us, and she pushes us apart. And she's like, she looks at my mom, she's like, you need to stop yelling at him, okay? You need to stop. And my mom's yelling over her at me because I don't know how to order Chinese food properly. That's what she's screaming at this point in time. You don't know how to order food right! Can't do anything! And so I'm trying to apologize and get the tally. And then I notice as this is happening that because Valley of Algeria is physically pushing my mother away at this point, like she's physically spacing us out, that Valley of Algeria stopped spacing me out and cocks a fist. And I'm like, no. And so my mom's still yelling at me, you don't know how to order food! And Valley of Algeria is like, and so I have to get between them again. So since Valley of Algeria spaced us out, now I have to space her and my mom out so she doesn't cold clock my mother for being a huge bitch. And so I get between them, and my mom's like, well, how much is it? And the lady hangs up because she doesn't really want to talk to us anymore. We've figured out the details and what have you. We don't need to talk anymore. And I didn't ask how much it's going to be. She just told me how long it would be before they showed up. And my mom is screaming at me because, you know, I ordered on a cell phone instead of the home phone. I just want you guys to know I have to take huge burp breaks for some reason while I'm doing these videos, because as I start screaming, I just get like air and gas fills up. And then like in between like 3 or 4 screams, I have to take a burp break, and I'm like, ah! And these huge burps come out for no reason. So yeah, my mom at this point is screaming at me because you don't order food on a cell phone! You order it on the home phone! That way they can figure out where you live! And I'm like, But that's not how caller ID works. That's not how any of this works. Apparently, my mother had it in her head that when you call from a house phone, they know where you are, like they're tracking your phone. Like, no, that's not how this works. Just, no, that's not how this works. So she's screaming at me for that. And I don't get the price. And so my mom is fucking pissed about that. And I'm in between them. Lady finally hangs up. She's like, well, what's the price? And I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't hear anything because you won't stop screaming at me. And like, I'm still holding back Valley of Virginia. I'm gonna punch that bitch right in the face. I'm like, no, don't do this. No. Now is not the time for murder. No, we're getting food. Food will be here soon. So Mom's like, you didn't get the price? They could charge us anything they want! And me and I went back and Jerry and like, please don't kill her. Not today. I don't want to deal with that today. Maybe later, but not today, please. Okay? So, as most of you know, Grimjack especially is like really a white knight. And he's been defending my mother. He's like, come on, man, she's family. You can't. He'd been defending her for like our whole lives because since he met her, she's been a really nice host and what have you. She cooks really old food sometimes. Most of our pills are outdated, but my mom's a really good host. Not so much a good mother, but a really good host. Oh, I dropped the Borderlands Handsome collection. Oh well. There's no disc in there anyway. It's in the drive. So Grim had been, defending my mom. Like, come on, she's family. She may make mistakes and what have you, but she's still family. And when I told him that I had to keep... Now, mind you, if you haven't seen Valley of Vageria on any of my streams or videos before, Valley of Vageria is a girl, and like Grim is a super white knight. And when I told him, like, I was like, no, you don't understand. I had to physically hold Valley of Vageria back from punching my mother in the face. Like, that's how much of a huge bitch she is. Like, you need to understand. And Grim was like, wow. And he doesn't even defend my mom anymore, so you know something is up. You know something is up. Pretty much one of the quintessential stories of my mother exists. So as I mentioned before, I usually for holidays and things like that, I would invite international students over. And this one year, we invited an international student over for Easter. And she was staying with us, and she was helping my mom in the kitchen in my old house. And telling my mom in the kitchen, my mom's trying to open this jar of, I think it was pickles. I'm pretty sure it was pickles. Mom's trying to open this jar of pickles, and she can't do it. So she hands it to me. And she's like, open it. So the way our old house was set up, the kitchen was really small. Like, it's smaller than my bedroom. Or my bedroom in this house. It was really small. And, like, the kitchen led into the dining room, but there's also a back door. And that's where we would... It was technically the side yard, but we called it the backyard. Whatever. And we had, like, a swing set and whatever, and that's where we would tie my dog when I was growing up. So there was, like, a mat right in front of the door that you could wipe your feet on, and you could get the dog to stand there while you wiped her feet and what have you. And so my mom hands me this jar of pickles, and I open it, but when I pop the top, it starts dripping. And because we're in the kitchen and there's already a mat there that's basically designed for you to get messy, I take one step over and I stand on the mat and I let it drip a little bit before I hand it to her. And it's dripping a little bit. My mom turns to me. And, like, there's this joke, I know most of you guys out there aren't really happy to hear about Bill Cosby besides all the bad things he's done and what have you. Or, I'm sorry, allegedly done. But when I was growing up, we had a lot of jokes. Like, we watched Bill Cosby himself a lot, because that special is awesome. If you just forget about all terrible things he's allegedly done, then that special is still pretty hilarious. But, like, he has this joke about how, like, the skin melts off his wife's face and fire shoots out of her eye sockets. Well, that kind of happened. So I'm standing there. The jar of pickles is dripping on the mat. It's not getting anywhere. And my mom turns to me, and I swear to you, fire shot out of her eye sockets, like tongues of flame shot into the sky. And she goes, "What are you doing? There's no time! And she like wrenches the jar of pickles out of my hand, and pickle juice sprays everywhere. An international student is now scared out of her mind, and she's just like trying to back her way out of the kitchen, and Mom's just, oh. I thought for sure when she wrenched the jar of pickles out of my hand that it was gonna shatter in her hands. Like she was just so angry that it would burst into flames from the flames that were already leaking out of her eyes. She had to have those pickles right that second. So like all my friends have this joke. Whenever we're doing anything, we'll be like, if somebody's taking too long to do something, one of my friends will like poke their head into the room and be like, "There's no time!" And yeah, that international student actually came back for other holidays and events, so I guess it wasn't that scary to her. I'm sure she's seen more. I also had a funny conversation with her because she was asking about how that international student went to school when they were like at home, and she had said that she went to boarding school, and we were having this whole long discussion about boarding school. And then my mom turns to her and she goes, "Well, but did you stay there overnight?" And the rest of my family is like, it's boarding school. That's kind of what boarding school is. Stay there overnight. And like my mom didn't get it. And now we make fun of her for it, and she hates it. She's like, "I made one mistake!" And we're like, "Well, I'm not going to say anything to myself. One is a very low ball number."
Hey there, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching, as always. If you click the link on the left, you'll be taken to the previous episode. If you click the link on the right, you'll be taken to the playlist, where you can watch them all. Don't worry, there's plenty more stories about my dad to come.